Am I the butthole for eating a girl's trigger food in class? This just happened and I'm getting crap from some people in my class. I'm female 16, in concert choir at my school. I love the teacher, but this class is a joke. We've been working on the same song since January 5th and are still not done with the chorus. We only did the chorus. Our teacher lets us eat in class and I eat a mix of healthy food and absolute crap in class. Today I was eating a bag of Doritos and a girl private messaged me and said I need to put my Doritos away because she has an ed and they trigger her. I said no because I was hungry, so she turned on her mic and said, "Hey, original poster Doritos are one of my trigger foods, can you put your food away?" My teacher said I'm fine, but like half the girls in the class agreed with her that I need to put them away. My teacher gave me permission to turn my camera off. District policy is to keep cameras on unless you have a teacher's permission to turn it off, and I thought it was problem solved, but I started getting texts and messages in the chat that I'm being a bitch. I told them I'm allergic to seafood, so if you're eating sushi does it mean I get to tell you to stop because it makes me upset that I can't have it, and they said it's different, so I wanted to know if I'm the butthole. Edit. Ed is eating disorder. Not the butthole. It's unfair of her to impose her own restrictions on you. No therapist would recommend that. She has to learn to cope with triggers, not avoid them. This, carrot, coming from dealing with Ed myself, it's surprising to me she'd announced that to the class to begin with. How were you to know previously? Not the butthole. Adjusting to this idea of virtual classes is so odd for me. Why was she looking at you? Do you all have to stare at each other in class or? Anyway, I don't normally comment, but I did want to jump in and mention to be mindful of your analogies when defending yourself. Although they're being rude by continuing to badger you, being allergic is not the same. Just trying to respect the depth of emotional/psychological issues involved. People that aren't her continuing to come after you are buttholes and you should try to ignore them. Yeah, being allergic is a legitimate reason to ask someone not to have food near you. Because it could actually kill you, not just trigger you to make bad choices. But they're not near each other. This is the ridiculous part. They're attending class virtually. The other person can just, I don't know, look away? Rearrange her screen so that original poster is on a different page? I'm sure a choir is big enough that there's several pages of cams going. There were 4 pages. She's attention whoring, then, plain and simple. She could have resolved this without bringing anyone into it. She just wanted everyone to pay attention to her and her need for special treatment. Exactly what I came to say. She was very open about using the chat to get followers. Also, the chat is saved by the teacher, so the bullying is recorded if original poster needs support in the future. Same here. That was my first thought when original poster said, she turned on her mic. First of all, you're intentionally interrupting class just to reiterate your ridiculous request, and second, you're letting everyone in class know you have an ed and original poster is triggering it. I mean, if she wants people to know she has an ed, fine. It's usually not something you want shared, but if you'd like those close to you to know, that's fair, but broadcasting it? There's a time and a place for everything, and this was not it. Not the butthole. Sounds like this girl has more problems than just an eating disorder if she's going to crack simply having the knowledge that someone in a different location than her is eating Doritos. I'm curious about how she would react if you asked her how she feels knowing that someone somewhere is eating Doritos right now. That's ridiculous. You're definitely NTA. I do think equating it to an allergy just distracted from your totally valid point, though. They're not the same, and it's easy to point out you being wrong about that rather than focusing on the actual issue that you are 100% right about. Times have really changed. If this happened when I was growing up, kids would make fun of the trigger girl. Times have really changed. Making fun of the trigger girl would not be a better thing. And yet times change, that the all concept of time. To be honest, in this situation, it wouldn't be better, but it would be warranted. As long as it's over her entitlement and not her ED. What's more, this sounds like virtual classroom. If so, original poster is in their own home or space. If a classmate has a problem with another student's video feed, hide that feed, even if it means just cutting up a sticky note to fit the screen. Absolutely. Plus Doritos are literally everywhere, so telling people to stop will be nearly impossible. She'd never walk into a gas station again. Not only that, but dudes in a Zoom class, not even in person, which I could kind of see if you could smell the food or hear her eat it. This is one of the big problems with people today. Instead of dealing with their own issue, they force everyone around them to change their behavior so that they feel accepted. Not the butthole. As someone with disordered eating, it is no one else's issue but mine. You don't get to control what other people eat. That is ridiculous. I don't know if what I have counts as disordered eating. I have zero control over it at least, but if I smell or taste cucumber or watermelon, or anything in the same family, I get extremely nauseous and feel horribly ill. It's not an allergy, but I'm almost positive it's a genetic issue. I sometimes ask if people can either wait with eating it until I'm gone, or make arrangements for one of us to move away so I can't smell it. But if they won't be nice about it, I request, not demand, I'll take it upon myself to move out of range, and if people think I'm being impolite, sorry, I don't want to vomit up my food, I want to eat it in peace. But I'd never ask anyone to not eat it where I can see it, especially not over chat. It doesn't matter how paranoid I get about it, I don't force anyone to do anything, nor would I blame him or her if they decide not to do me a solid. You do what you have to do to feel okay with something like a food aversion, as in you remove yourself from the situation, rather than putting it on the other person. Food aversions are real. It would only be rude if you made an issue of it like the girl in the original poster did. I think you handle your situation quite reasonably, though if it were me I'd just remove myself from the situation. Usually I do just remove myself, but this has come up in my home, and I had to request a few small things. Give me heads up if someone is cutting/eating it, and properly cover cut cucumber/watermelon so that the fridge doesn't stink of it. It makes me feel unreasonable, but it's the only way I can live comfortably without other people simply not eating it. Yeah, I would try to be aware of food aversions like this in my own home and do my best to avoid those foods, or give a heads up to the person experiencing it, especially if they were foods that had strong smells. I'm also the kind of person who wouldn't microwave fish in a public eating space. I do agree with being considerate in shared spaces, as well. Would you demand that someone stop eating watermelon on a Zoom call where you can't smell it? No way. Seeing it doesn't bother me, only the smell/taste, and I let people know that if they are concerned about upsetting me. I have the same issue with the smell of vinegar. I feel it. Oof, vinegar is super common too, that really sucks, sorry. NTA, turning the camera off should have been more than enough. Or open up a notepad and size it to cover Op square on her screen. Or use a physical sticky note. Or switch to speaker view. For real. Is she just starting at other people? Smiley face. Yep. That's what adults call compromise. Not the butthole. I had an eating disorder for many years, and I'm still very confused on what she means by trigger food. Does that mean she wants to eat it? In my experience, if I ate certain foods it tended to trigger a spiral of unhealthy thinking that often caused me to engage in self-harming behaviors. Oh, okay. I guess I've never really thought about any food specifically triggering me. Thank you for explaining. For me, it's foods that are high in sugar, like the frosting on cake, ice cream, etc. Then it becomes a binge. If the sweet food has a lot of flavor and more fats in it, like most chocolates, then I'm more able to stop with one or when I'm full. So for the others, I just say no when offered so I don't continue to crave them. But having them on camera? How does the girl watch any movies or shows? If she purged, it could be that she would eat Doritos before a binge since they are bright orange. They would allow an indicator as to when the whole binge was up again. I remember watching some sort of biopic about a woman who was bulimic and got pregnant, so she ate a little bit, then had carrots, then binged. When she went to vomit, she stopped when the carrots came out, because that way there was still something good left for the baby. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works, but she was obviously very ill. That is so sad, oh my gosh. Oh, wow, that sounds heartbreaking. This was my guess as to why. Probably used them as a marker food. But doesn't everything in the stomach get mixed around? I'm fairly certain it does. I'm not sure when someone would see the coloring again, or if it's just something so that there's an end point. Usually they don't wait long before purging. Maybe 20 minutes or sometimes immediately after binge eating. So it doesn't stay in the stomach for very long. Know if you purge directly after, you can usually see the different foods come up. There's some mixing, of course. Actually it does. The heavier the food is, the lower it stays in the stomach. The light stuff, like veggies etc., stay up and leave the body first, even if they have been eaten hours earlier than the rest. Is that a common thing? Madness, I've never heard of that. This is common. I had a similar tactic in my purging behaviors. I won't say what because I don't want to teach folks how it's done, but yeah. This is common for bulimics. When I got out of the purging, I still struggled and currently struggle with just straight up binge eating. Certain foods trigger the urge to binge eat for me. I don't know. Just to be clear, not the butthole for eating them and all. But original poster, the lack of knowledge may be why you are getting such negative backlash from others on the situation. A trigger food is just like other psychological triggers. When you see/hear/smell it, it causes a significantly outsized reaction in your brain which is related to the mental illness in question. In the specific case of the Doritos, seeing them being eaten likely means she's engaging in severely distressing negative thoughts about her body, feeling a need to purge, or mentally counting up the calories and spiraling about how little she would have to eat later to compensate. It's much more common for this to be tired into the person actually eating the food rather than just seeing it, but it wouldn't need to be. This is unlike a hypothetical sushi allergy, because there's no known mechanism for viewing an allergen remotely to trigger anaphylaxis. Does any of this mean it was your responsibility to manage your classmate's mental illness for her? No, there were plenty of ways in which she could have managed that were less intrusive. Does it mean that your actions may have come off as very dismissive to the idea that she was in genuine distress? Possibly. Again, this doesn't mean you owed her, that people aren't being buttholes to you now, or that your reaction somehow justifies their behavior. This is just to attempt to explain how something you may not have been aware of led to others seeing something you may not have intended. Edit. Apologies if this doesn't end up being relevant or useful to you. I am on the autistic spectrum and often find myself in situations where what I want people to see and what they do see don't match, so analyzing things afterwards to figure out where the disconnect happened is something I find useful. I sincerely hope original poster reads this. I agree, not the butthole for eating the chips, but I finished the post with an uneasy feeling nonetheless. Original poster is only 16 and this is the perfect time to learn about always being empathetic to others even if they're going about it in an abrasive way. I mean, it's good to be empathetic, but original poster has made it clear in other comments it's not as if the girl had no other way of not seeing him. There's a point where personal responsibility is no longer the primary factor in an issue and it was not passed here. I'm assuming both people involved are around the same age, and in that case, I can both hope original poster that grows from this experience and excuse the fact that the girl blurted out what she did after trying to privately resolve the issue. What else was she going to do? Privately message the teacher about it and hope that the teacher then privately tells original poster to turn her camera off? All while in a state of distress if the chips really were triggering her? Maybe the other girl didn't know how to rearrange people on screen to hide up. They're teenagers. They're learning and growing and no one is perfect. Best answer in this thread. And original poster still turned off the camera. Even though the girl could literally click one of several buttons and not see the chips. NTA, she is in for a major shock when she gets into the real world. I can just imagine her going to a Dorito manufacturing company and telling them to stop producing Doritos because it triggers her grow up. NTA, what the F is happening to personal responsibility? If you find out, I would be interested to know. I say this with a lot of love. I love being a teacher, I love my kids, but one of the unexpected side effects of pushing trauma awareness in schools is that I am now seeing students inflict their trauma upon other students in various ways and expect to be accommodated and allowed to do so. It's a misguided sense of compassion. The kids I am talking about have genuine issues that they need help with. I want them to get that help. But I don't want them holding their classmates hostage to their whims, which I am seeing a lot. I can only hope my child ends up with a teacher like you. You phrase this so articulately and politely, it's everything I personally feel when I see posts like this. Thank you for your kind words. I've been teaching long enough to have seen a stark increase in this kind of behavior. I saw this start with the big pushes for awareness about anxiety and depression. We were trying to prevent suicides, but a side effect was most of my kids at a previous school diagnosed themselves with anxiety and depression without ever seeing a doctor or sometimes even talking to their parents. They then demanded accommodations they read about online. While worrying about mental health, triggers and trauma, we are forgetting about normal developmental anxiety and the search for identity. We are accidentally encouraging kids to stay stuck, and worse, allowing them to traumatize other students. This happened to my own child and it has taken over a year to get him back on track. It's the lack of critical thinking for me. It seems no one follows the logic anymore. Like, perhaps Doritos should be banned outright and production shut down, because Susie is triggered by them. Absolutely. Really points out the whole politics is shaped like a horseshoe theory pretty well. I had this conversation with one of my students. Student, my computer is about to die, can I do the work some other way? Me, get a charger, then? Student, okay. And he comes back with a charger. Critical thinking and problem solving are lacking. But at least they're kinder to one another than we were, in my experience. I wish I knew. I hate being a world where people are not accountable and don't take responsibility. Have you stepped into a school in the last 10 years? Personal responsibility is not a thing anymore. Admin and state laws continually mandate us to avoid making students responsible. Source: I'm a teacher. Not the butthole, trigger food. And not even in the same room, but over video. Entitled Much? Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.